today it's going to be some really fun conversation. We are celebrating our fathers. I want to thank BMI, but more importantly, YouTube. So my co-host for this event is Mr. Kenny Burns.
Hey,
everybody.
hey.
Host extraordinary.
Hey, thank you,
Anytime
Catherine.
I do anything live, if he's available, if I can afford him, he shows up. So Kenny, you want to jump in and start introducing our guests?
Yes, today we are gathered some of the music industry's top creatives and their kids to join us for a discussion on the importance of fatherhood and the life change. Yes, amen, babe. Come sit with me. Want to sit with Uncle? You don't? Okay, all right, great. Impact it can have on both kids. Yes, we just gonna come up here. All right, we're gonna let Uncle Kenny finish. Being a father can be both challenging and rewarding. Amen. And you can say that the same for raising a family in the spotlight of the music industry, but music has played an essential role in the lives and bonds of our panelists, and we hope their stories will serve as inspiration for other fathers, daughters, and sons.
So I'm excited to welcome our super panel. This is a great group of folks. Super producer Dallas Austin and his son Cypress, who's like my nephew. Also, the greatest voice of our era, Mr. CeeLo Green, and his ever so handsome, kind son, Kingston.
I appreciate the last part.
Really. And what I'm so excited about is to have the acclaimed film and TV composer, Kirk, and his son, True, to the city of Atlanta, welcome our very own composer. And this is such a space that I think people don't understand how there's such lack of diversity. What I so appreciate after really taking a deep dive of what Kirk has done is he broke barriers when barriers were set up for us not to be in the space. So I applaud you. You have done some incredible work. Welcome to Atlanta. And True, super, super excited to have you guys here. And certainly last but not least, Atlanta, in many respects, wouldn't be as solid as it would be, and I see his daughters. Boy, your timing is perfect.
Come on up here. Come on up here with your dad. He by himself. We missed you.
So, certainly last but not least, Chaka has been someone who's been the voice of this city, loud and certainly very respectful but prominent. I only call him when I need something, and oftentimes when I need something, I call him the plug. So welcome him and is it Taye or Toye?
Tayo.
Tayo.
Yeah.
Welcome to the panel. His beautiful daughter who had SATs, right?
Yeah, the SAT.
So I'm sure she rocked it. So
7,000
right.
on the SAT.
Oh, easy. Give her a round of applause. So we're gonna jump right into this conversation. Dallas, I've had the luxury of growing up, you and I, and before kids and after kids, having boys, and now, certainly having a daughter, but how challenging has it been having boys and navigating being a parent versus Dallas, a rock star who for years before kids didn't do much talking to anybody. I mean, he would show up, do the work. He'd have people waiting in the studio for days before he showed up for a session. So he was rich and famous for real. This is a true story. So how's it been navigating as a parent in the music business and in Atlanta where it's a lot going on?
Cypress was into sports in the first 8-10 years of his life, and so a lot of times whether it was soccer games or football games or showing up to make sure we was there to support it. And it's been great just because I feel like you get to see yourself, run around is how I look at it. And you get to tell him, and no matter how much your dad or the person can say it to you when you're young, you just don't get a lot of stuff, or none of us did. And so it's been great to be able to tell him when things are gonna be okay, when they're not gonna be okay, when they're not as detrimental as you think they are, and watch him get through things that he learned that lesson himself, and then you start to see him say, oh, damn, this ain't that serious. Okay, I can do this, so I can do that. And I think it's the one thing as fathers in our industry that is about really spending the time with them enough that they trust your judgment, because they'll be around a lot of stuff. They'll be around even going to school and going to college and all of that. When you're coming from a music industry standpoint, they automatically think you're gonna be the rock and roll kid or whatever it is. So if you don't have a close enough relationship to where he can really come and talk to you and tell you what's going on, in this industry, that's very, very important because you can lose them like that. You can lose them to a lot of things by not being close with them. So I always just wanted to make sure me and him had a very close, open relationship. We could talk about anything.
Cypress, and for you, when did you realize your dad was a rock star? Like, at what point did you wake up oh, my dad is not like Andy Griffith or like my buddy's dad who goes to work at Walmart?
I mean, honestly, it took me a while. I remember being smaller and just being like, well, I guess this is what everyone's life is like,
So not so.
Kind of taking it for granted as you're younger. But when I first realized it, might have been that time you saved me.
True story.
CeeLo, my brother, your career is nothing short of amazing. And I think you got family very early. I mean, you started with your brothers in this industry. How was it starting the legendary group Goody Mob and then all having kids around the same time?
Well, I always, whenever I refer back, I always have to acknowledge Rico Wade because, essentially we were all at-risk youth. And so Rico Wade was such a big brother, so wise and so mature, and had so much foresight that we trusted him. And he opened up his doors and he shared his home, of which he shared with two sisters and a mother. So, over the time, it ended up being about, 13 of us living over there, including myself, Andre 3000, Big Boy, Big Rube, Mom, Sugar Bear, to name a few. And so, so we took care of each other. And it was the family structure that I had never had. My father had passed away very early. My father passed away when I was 2 years old. And then my mother ultimately passed away when I was 17. My mother passed away weeks before our debut album, Goody Mob Soul Food, came out. So being that LaFace Records was on Peachtree, I was able to go and have her accredited, and dedicate that project to her. So, man. And then for us to have kids was a testament to the things that we had, applied, truth to power. We wanted to do music respectfully. We recorded Goody Mob's Soul Food in Curtis Mayfield's home studio in Southwest Atlanta. We didn't realize that he was even living in Atlanta at the time. And so that was, our idols, were alive and well. Like we come from the city of true saviors, Martin Luther King, Ralph David Abernathy, John Lewis. And we can even go back to Alley Pat, Hosea Williams. So all of these people were prominent, and they were vocal, and we were impacted, by their action, And so we knew our elder statesmen were alive and well and watching us, and we wanted to carry on, and continue that work respectfully, out of respect. And I just appreciate the brothers that I was placed amongst because we all had that same ideal in mind, And so that was the commonwealth that we shared, and to be able to pass that on to children, is the gift that keeps on giving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same question for you, though. At what point did you realize your dad was the CeeLo Green? And did you ever feel uncomfortable, with your dad being so famous?
I didn't really catch on until later.
It's so funny to me.
He was just dad.
Well, it was only because I never really looked at him that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was always just, the normal father to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, to the point where I knew what he meant in what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew his intention behind, some of the great, artworks and songs that he's created, and I would be there for the actual process. So by the time that it was done, I was just so familiar with it that, it didn't necessarily strike me until I started going to traditional school, and it was like, yo, like, you know, like, yo, I love your dad. Like, I got teachers handing me mixtapes, like, hey, play this for your son. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, for real. Like, I had a parent-teacher conference in 3rd grade, and she asked for concert tickets. I was like, damn, like, y'all supposed to be talking about me, ain't you? Like, you know, like, but I don't think I was ever really uncomfortable with, like, it was an inconvenience at times, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't necessarily think I was ever uncomfortable with it. It took me a long time to understand. Like, I can honestly say, like, up until a couple of years ago, like, we had a conversation where I was like, I get it now. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, like, this is your calling. You know what I'm saying? Like, you had to do what you had to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be selfish. You know what I'm saying?
True. That's amazing.
Give him a round of applause. That's understanding.
No, that's some jewels. Yeah, yes. Sorry.
I just wanted to add one thing to that. Anybody who's like followed our career, and then me personally extending over from Dungeon Family, you'll see that I involved my entire family in almost everything that I did. Kingston is co-starring with me in a song called Getting Grown. So that was the 2nd single off of my first solo album, CeeLo Green and His Perfect Imperfections. And he was a little baby. I think he might have been like, I think about 3 or 4 or something like that. You know what I mean? But, you know, and that video was inspired by us watching Teletubbies and stuff like that. So, you know, me being me, I dress up like the Teletubbies, you know, thinking I'm entertaining him. Or, you know, my wife, Christina, and then my daughter, Sierra and Kayla. So we always been family, man. That's what it's about.
So Kirk and True, same question for him, but at what point did you realize your dad was like, wow, like a famed composer? And you grew up, I'm assuming, in California. And go ahead.
I was like, to be honest, I'm still like kind of grasping how like phenomenal of a composer he is. Like when he told me he was like one of the best African-American composers, I was like,
wow.
Well, that's crazy. I didn't know my dad was some famous guy out there. But like, yeah, like everybody else has said, he's just been like a normal father to me, just being there for me, being at my school, doing stuff with me, even though he has his work, which I don't understand how he does all of it. It's gonna be, it's crazy. Amazing. Yeah. But I'm still like learning all the stuff that he does. Like, it's crazy.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah,
it's crazy. Kirk, and for you, navigating such, it's like when you're in some respects one of one, that comes with the thing. And then being a parent, meaning you're one of the most famed composers in your space. And then how do you strike the balance of being there for your boys when duty calls you on a regular basis?
That's a dance every day, every week. I'm trying to figure it out, just like everybody else. And I think all parents. It's whether you're doing what we do, whether you're driving a truck, or working at a grocery store. Those balances and those weights are on you, just like they are for us. It's the challenge is it really breaks your heart, some of the things that you can't be there for. And though I try to as much, I'm like, every morning I'm making them breakfast. Literally every morning I make them breakfast. I can't guarantee I'll be there for dinner. but I do. I'm making breakfast. I can, oddly enough, because of my the schedule of my career, sometimes I can jump out and see a baseball game or basketball or whatever, and be there for him to talk with him when he wants. Unlike CeeLo, I don't have to travel a lot. I can't imagine how complicated that is, and when you put the travel thing involved in it, and I've had to do very little of that. But I work on a lot of TV shows and a lot of hours, every day, and balancing that with the kids, it's got to be a choice. It's a conscious choice to be there for them and to care about what they care about. I mean, I look at this young man and his brother came in, and my heart just gets so full. I can't imagine what this is. It's so amazing who they are and how they handle things. And they're just such amazing, well put together boys that much better than me. And I attribute that to their mom. So they're much better than me.
That's amazing.
My son would never hug me like that on stage. I love you. Chaka Zulu.
Yes. Oh my God.
That made me emotional.
Oh my
Almost cried.
God.
Chaka Zulu, I've known you before you had kids, I can honestly say that. And social currency has always been your most priceless commodity, and it shows the way that you deal with your children. How important is social currency as a father, and pouring that and sharing that with your children?
I mean, it was something that was passed down to my parents doing the community work that they did, as well as being in entertainment. So I kind of saw it firsthand. My mother and my father were both in music and entertainment, heavily and toured. And me and my sister Aisha was in the audience. We were on tour with Kool and the Gang and Sun Ra and all of these bands when we were 6, 7 years old, and got to see it standing side stage. And then right after that, we watched them go be, active members in the Black Panther Party and revolutionaries and feed and fight and march and protest and other things. So I've always looked at it both ways. So then in the process of me coming into what became my career, I didn't want to be in the music industry. It was just my life. It was just literally right there. And then at a certain point, because of my love for it, when we connected in college, we passing out flyers, doing parties. I was always around it, but I was going in a different trajectory. But then when I realized where the money came in, I was like, to your point, I was like, all right, my passion can meet, my everyday life. And so with my children, I just try to show them, one, what I do. And it is a very unique thing that I learned with my oldest son, Amir, who was with me through the process of success. Tayo, is a recipient.
She's seen the G-Wagons and everything else. Tayo, is that correct? You've seen all the luxuries of life, right? Okay.
But obviously well balanced, in the sense of who she is, and for them to make it their own, because it is a hard thing. And Amir, being a firstborn son, having to try to live up to that was weird. She doesn't have to try to live up to that. She just can be whatever she wants to be, how she wants to do it, whenever she wants to do it. And she's my only daughter. I have 2 sons and 1 daughter. But the key point is for her to see it, enjoy it. Obviously, she, we go out, she'll see some of her favorite, she's been seeing her favorite artists since she was 2.
Since Justin Bieber brought you on stage, huh?
Yeah, things like that, or what have you, from Mary J. Blige. She has pictures through her whole life with all her favorite artists, all the way up to, we had Operation Beyonce for about 7 years.
How does that feel to have a dad that's a superhero and can make all those dreams come true?
I don't know, it's great. I mean,
it's all right.
It's all right.
I mean, I'm just very grateful that I have a dad who, is able to, make my dreams come true.
Yeah, because see, moms get all the credit, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, don't you start with that.
It's important that we, shout out our dads, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dads are special. I love that. So let's go back to the sons, and then we'll come back to the daughter on the panel. Were you influenced in terms of your career choice by what your dad is doing, or did you ever have a desire to do something outside of music?
He was definitely influenced. To be real, when I was young, I was super shy. Didn't necessarily talk a lot, very quiet. I didn't think it was gonna be anything even related, because I was just to myself a lot, you know what I'm saying? And I wasn't really as forward, with the fact that I knew I had some kind of inclination as to why I liked the certain things that I liked, and that's how we ended up, just being better bonded. You know what I'm saying? Like we like the same things. Like we'll sing a whole Marvin Gaye album from top to bottom. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just
DNA.
That's just how we work. That's just how it works. I didn't expect it. Damn, I had something good to say.
That was good. That you know Marvin Gaye album.
I totally forgot where I was going with that.
No, but that's good. So yes, but not initially. In a nutshell, you always felt, and you play multiple instruments.
Yeah, I was self-taught how to play guitar, bass, drums. I'm more behind the scenes with it. So him being the artist, I'm kind of like the architect. You know what I'm saying? Like I like to know the math behind everything, how to build and destroy and then build it all over again. So I produce, engineer, you know what I'm saying?
YouTube, you heard that. The artist and the architect,
Architect. That's
5 million.
That's it.
16 episodes.
That's it. And true for you, were you ever, I mean, again, your dad, that was such an emotional moment. What are your aspirations? I mean, you're what, 16 now?
Yeah, I'm 16.
Wow, he's got that bass. I'm 16. He got that little bass in his voice.
I'm out here in these streets.
Right. What are your aspirations? I know he said you were an athlete, but are you in any way interested in the space of your dad, or you're not there yet?
I'm very interested.
Like, you see the conviction? Very interested.
You a Scorpio?
What's up?
What's your sign?
My sign?
Yeah.
Sign, horoscope.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't know what any of that stuff is. I know I'm the horse.
What month?
Horse thing. The half horse, half human thing, if that's a sign.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
What's
Sagittarius.
Sagittarius.
Yeah. Sag.
But you said very interested, and what does that look like for you? A composer? Do you want to be on stage, off stage, all of the above?
I've always, since I was little, I've always liked singing.
Nice.
Like just music in general. Like I was just talking to CeeLo. I really like Donald Glover's music.
Wow.
Like I've been listening to him for a bit. When I went to my dad's office for the first time in Hollywood, when I went to his studio and I saw all the stuff that they were doing, it just really intrigued me. Like the process of how they went about doing it, and the instruments and the technology and everything that you need to do that. It's just, the algorithm intrigues me. Like, I just want to get to know it better. So then, like, what makes people tick? What makes people want to listen to what you do?
Kids are so much smarter than we were. Algorithm.
Cypress, how you doing?
This is so good.
I'm doing fine.
So your dad said you were into sports heavy first. Were you not enamored by all of the amazing artists, or just you went left because he had so many different artists he was producing and careers he was making?
Man, I was just always so shy growing up.
Common theme, shy boys.
You get it from his dad.
No, painfully.
I just knew it came with a lot of attention. But I mean, I guess sports does too. But for me, it wasn't more so that he definitely influenced me to do it, obviously, but it wasn't like put on us, any of us, to do music or anything else. It was just like, he would always say, even if you make donuts, just be the best at making donuts, and he'll be proud. You know what I'm saying? So, I was definitely influenced seeing kind of the stuff that he was doing and how much it impacted people and how people viewed him and how he viewed himself because of what he was doing and stuff like that. But yeah, it was just never forced on us or anything.
Yeah, your dad had such brilliance at such a young age. He was ahead of the curve on so many levels, from Rowdy Records to the clothing store and the underground. He just had a vision for himself. But to see you all grow up and be so solid is amazing. So I just want to tell you.
Great kid.
Thank you, man.
So again, your dad managed some of the most incredible artists in the game. Was that something in your schooling you were pressured to, like, your dad manages Ludacris, hypothetically? How difficult was that to manage for you? Or did people know? I'm sure they did, though. And how difficult was it for you?
Well, if they didn't know, I made it known.
Excuse me. High five. That's why we have the girls on the panel. No games over here.
You
She's
ain't
like,
know?
honey, yes, they better know.
I just thought it was like the coolest thing in the world. Like I would just be like, oh my God, my dad manages this place, and they're just like, oh my gosh, you're so cool. I want to meet your dad, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, I just thought as my dad is like, you know, my hero. So,
Aww. Aww.
And Ludacris is your godfather, right?
yes.
Wow.
Fast 9 coming out June 25th.
So, Kurt, in LA, are you from California? Born and raised?
No, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, wow. And were they born in California?
Yes.
Both of your kids. How difficult is that for you, not being where family reside, or maybe you do have some family there? California seems like a real tough city to raise, or place to raise kids or state.
It's different. It's different. I never thought I would be in California. I grew up watching TV and seeing the Beverly Hillbillies and MASH and all these different shows, and I never thought that I would be a part of that legacy. I thought that all those people out there in California were weird. I wanted to go to New York, and I didn't even watch that. What was weird, I wanted to do what these brothers are doing originally, and be on the stage, and I never even watched TV. But my brother Ralph was a writer for a show called Happy Days, and he also did. He was one of the writers on Married with Children, and he would tell me, you do so much writing, you should be a part of, you should try and write for television. And I said, I don't even watch television, Ralph, And it just seemed to be a weird thing. And since the first time I got to LA, I was trying to get out. I mean, I think I got a gig about a month later in New York, and I'd say, oh, ching, I'm out of here, But I got used to it, and I really fell in love with Los Angeles. It's a lot of great people there. It's a wonderful industry. I'm lucky and blessed to be in television and working with some of the amazing artistic people that I've gotten to work with, and to bring kids up there. I mean, it's like anywhere else. People are trying to do the best for their kids. They're trying to keep them safe. They're trying to give them more than that they had. They're trying to grow their spirit as well as their minds. They're trying to see what type of great human being that you can bring up. And you can, and kids are seeds. You can drop a seed anywhere and grow it. But you gotta nurture it. You gotta bring water to it. You gotta look at it every day. You got to love it every day. Every day, it's got to be love has got to be the first thing that you bring to them, and love has got to be the last thing you tuck them in with at night. And I could do that anywhere. No place stops me from that.
That's good. True.
The preacher.
What's your dad's favorite project that he's composed, or what? I mean, he's had so many, but what's your favorite?
He's always saying black lightning, black lightning, black lightning, black lightning, all the time.
Wow, that's amazing. This kid is such a rock star right now.
He's ready. He's ready.
What? Put him on stage tomorrow, Byron. Get him some BMI paperwork right now. Rima. No, that's amazing. So, do you play any instruments?
Right now, I used to play guitar and violin, but then I didn't really enjoy it that much. So now I'm doing piano and I'm singing.
Yeah, we're gonna put him on the mic.
You need to do voiceovers, young man.
The voice is out of here. Cypress. There is, again, I've been part of your journey since you were a toddler, before you were even born, I should say. What was the moment that you realized you had a gift in this space? I think kids have sometimes these journeys where they're not sure if they're going to meet the mark of their parents, and oftentimes kids exceed their parents' expectation, and that's low. So, but do you feel like you have hit the pinnacle of where you want to be at this juncture? I mean, you're always working, we know that, but where do you feel you are, and do you feel like you've hit a threshold, like a point where you feel like you've cemented yourself as a producer and writer?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's always like a work in progress. But one thing I learned from my dad is just always kind of take, a note of where everyone is, but don't necessarily compare yourself. So for me, like, I know my dad, like at 17, it was all good. You know what I'm saying? He was already making it and stuff. For me, it's been a little different, but my journey has been completely different.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've hit some of the thresholds that I've wanted to hit, but there's still so many I haven't hit yet that I'm still aiming for.
Love that, Kenny.
Continue to define success for yourself.
That's it.
Thank you.
That's good.
CeeLo, how have you brought normalcy to your family in such a hectic business?
It's a good question.
I couldn't pronounce the word at first.
Normalcy.
Normalcy.
I think I always say to Kingston, the measuring stick to manhood is how well you can multitask, and not allowing anything to suffer. So it's a lot of hard work, you know what I mean, and a lot of mixed emotions, but, and there's another thing I always say too, it's about taking a professional approach to your personal life, making sure that you have structure, make sure that you have scheduling. I mean, you could even schedule spontaneity. I mean, you feel me? You could say we're going to be creative, we're going to be, spontaneous, we're going to go out in the wild, just see and let life happen to us on this day. You know what I'm saying? So I think, even when you were just saying to Cypress about continue to find your own success, it's the same with Kingston. Kingston has these inherent abilities as far as music is concerned. You know what I mean? But I think a lot of the times we just want to kind of run those courses to run parallel. We don't want them to follow in our footsteps necessarily. We definitely want them to be better than us. And Kingston is already smarter than I could ever be. You know what I'm saying? Right? So I also think another measuring stick to manhood is remaining teachable. You know what I mean? So I want to be taught by him as well too. So I come and sit with him and like, hey, what's up with this, man? What's Bitcoin? What's that? Whatever the conversation is. But we want these things to run parallel. But sometimes it's a little pressure on us as parents because we want our kids to grow exponentially. You know what I mean? Like at the pace that we would like to grow for ourselves. And so, you want our kids to be the motivating factor that causes us to go further and endure longer. You know what I'm saying? But they're still going to need, the velocity behind them. We're in front of them trying to pull them forward. You know what I'm saying? Like, that you need the winds of change or whatever it is, to push them, as well. And it has to be their own initiative. It has to be their own, excitability and enthusiasm in going forward because there's no going backwards. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So it's just about trying to make that enjoyable. I heard Rick Ross say in an interview recently, even if it's hard work, find a way to enjoy it. Just find a way to enjoy it. So trusting the process is knowing is trusting and loving, just, love it, and live it. That's really all you could do. So if they see me doing it, if he can see me do it all, go out and do something amazing, and, being able to come back and still be an amazing father, male presence, an example in his life, then I've covered the basis.
It's amazing.
Yes.
So this is for either the dad, and then I want to have something specifically for Chaka and his daughter. What is the pressures of what's happening in the world? There's so much fear around Black kids leaving the home in many respects. It ain't even got to be, any set journey, just the fact that kids have to be told if the cop stops you, here is what you have to do. It wasn't, you would think in our time that would have been more prevalent, but now it seems to be a thing. how do you as fathers, and again, anyone could take this, what have been those conversations, and how do you manage this world where just by being Black, you're sometimes perceived as a threat?
Well, I want to add one other thing to what I just said. I want to cap it off this way. None of this is normal. And we ain't teaching our kids to be normal, teaching our kids to be exceptional.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Bars.
Pause, right.
Okay.
No, that was good.
What these gates put up to keep outside. Betty, I don't know. I forgot.
So who wants to
Keep
take
our
this?
ass in.
What's the conversation for you as a parent having a Black son or daughter, but certainly Black son, and the threat of the imminent threat in some cases of being a Black young man?
Again, my family history, and my daughter gets a lot of it. My oldest son, Amir, who's 27, got a lot of it. My youngest is 5, so he's still coming into it. But we train. We have an understanding of our existence in this country and the position that we hold. And it's not just my household, it's my entire family. I have 15 brothers and sisters. We have a history and a legacy of notoriety in and around political struggle, and at a high level, to my grandfather, who was a Tuskegee airman, who trained the FOI, the original FOI, who ran the streets with Malcolm in the streets, things like that. So when we talk in our house, and my daughter, it's funny because one of my college friends, she's best friends with his son. And I didn't know. They became best friends, and then one day my assistant was like, "You know whose son that is?" I was like, "No, whose son is that?" And I'm looking like, "Yeah, what's happening?"
What kind of friend?
He's like, "Yo, that's Keisha's son." I was like, "Oh." So I called. I was like, "Yo, our children are best friends." She's like, "Yeah." So they was hanging out the other week for a birthday party, and she had called me, and she was just like, "Your daughter just keeps everybody in line, I guess, in their little group chat about politics." You know what I mean? She's like, she's pro-Black. She's on point. That's what she said. So I was like, okay. I was like, all right, well, I know where she gets it from. And she even tested me during the Black Lives Matter thing. Having and understanding how these things move, and all of the marching, and understanding how things get infiltrated and annexed and all of these things, I didn't rush to get her involved. But one day she called me, she's like, "So are we going down there?" And I was like, "Oh, you want to go?" She was like, "Yeah." I was like, me and my friends, we want to go get active. I was like, okay. And so at that point, I sent some people down with her because I was traveling. I sent some people down with her. I said, "Y'all got to show her how to move," because my mother used to be like, "That's a Fed. That person's a police officer. They're not with us. Watch out for this group behind us. We get to this point, make a right." Like, that's how we learned how to. So, yeah, and it's all in training. To answer the question, it's all in training. Yes, you should. Even though the police are not inherently our enemies, but it's a contentious relationship. So you have to teach as the world is, not necessarily how you want it to be sometimes. And so my parents would be like, "Listen, this is going to happen at some point. No matter what, even if it's just jaywalking, you're going to come across police. So this is how you interact." And I understood that. You know what I'm saying? So we try to have that. And I have police off. My oldest son's mother is a police officer. You know what I'm saying? So we have that type of conversation in the house. And when it heightens, like what's been going on for the past few years, it's a sit down. It's okay, I need all of the police officers in the family to have a sit down with all the children in the family and understand, so we can get this, because there's a confusion there. So all of it is about training. All of it is about, experience as well too. I mean, all we really want to do is survive the moment, but we also have to be prepared to live, right? Absolutely. And so I just want her to be fearless, and she trains. Every summer we had an agreement. She could do 2 things she wanted to do, and she has to do 2 things. And one of mine is always some type of discipline: martial arts, boxing, gun training, whatever it is. She's been shooting since she was 9. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not scared to say that. I want her to know, and I tell her, I'm putting things in you so that when you're capable, or when you get in situations, your instincts kick in. So you might not love it or like it. She didn't like boxing, but if I put my hand up and I say one, that jab come out real quick. You know what I'm saying? So it's just things that we have to do with our children and our families and with each other. So, you know, it's a lot, but it's just.
Oh, it's just good. Kurt, you want to add something to that?
I'm 63 years old, and I had to have the talks with my dad when I first was able to drive in Chicago. And you had this uncomfortable talk about what your interaction could be with police. And now, 50 years later, I'm sitting here having to have a conversation with my son, who's a product of an interracial relationship. So I'm trying to think about where it comes from in their heads, but we're having to have that conversation again here now. I just think, how sad. How sad. My job is to tell him how to be a respectful human being, no matter who he's coming into contact with. So I do. My job is to tell him to look for decency and expect decency back. That's my job. But people die by inches, not by miles, somebody told me. He didn't die because he was in Chicago, he died because he didn't duck. I don't want to have to keep having conversations, and I don't want to have my sons have conversations about duck just because they're in front of a police officer. We gotta stop it. We gotta stop it by, I believe, smothering them with decency. Even when they're trying to choke the life out of us. I'm going to try to fight by decency and love every day. And I'm going to take this man with me in that battle.
Okay, this is not supposed to be emotional, but it is. CeeLo, anything to add? I mean, it's just, again, people say, well, why are we going there? But I think it's just important to hear different perspectives. There's no right or wrong answer in this space. But we do know love covers a multitude of things, but when you're in that situation, I think it's just always helpful. Dialogue in our community doesn't happen often. It's you're getting the end result of the situation, not before the incident happens. So, CeeLo.
I have a disdain, and forgive me if this is offensive, but I have a disdain with even being called black at this point. I'd much rather be called colored. You know what I'm saying? Like, because at least there's variables, you know what I'm saying? Like, at least there's tonality, you know what I mean? Being black almost implies being unseen and unheard and in a dark place, you know what I mean? But the condition of being black is a mood, you know what I'm saying? You feel me? And a manner of which we have to abide by, a conditioning, you know what I'm saying? That we've been subjected to, you know what I mean? So I wish we could proclaim to be another color. I wish that clear was a color. Call me clear. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm clear on what the systemic racism is. I'm clear on what the playing board is. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So we have to get clear on our communication and clear on a strategy, a more effective means to move. Wiggle room. You know what I'm saying? You feel me? So don't be at odds with teaching your kids military mindedness. You know what I'm saying? Mindfulness. You know what I mean? Like, we have to be smarter. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to apply, you know what I mean? Like, not an understanding. People have to understand that understanding is a slave term. Imagine a slave master saying that to a slave. Do you understand me? You see the significance of that when you put the tone on it? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, we endure, so therefore we're going to start at, and we're equal, but information is equality, right? So.
Are you clear?
Are y'all clear in this room?
So with that equality, we're going to start at withstanding. Now, see the significance in that? Because we can endure, we've already shown that we're resilient, so we can withstand. You feel me? And then we will ultimately overstand. I mean, you feel me? That's it. So, that's it. And I mean, we just have to realize that life is a game to people, to the powers that be. You know what I mean? And so, therefore, we have to understand as clear people that life is just not a matter of surviving, but it's also about scoring. Because it is a game. We got to put points on the board for our team. That's it.
We'd like to thank you for coming out tonight. It's over.
That's so good.
You clear?
Are we clear in this room?
Where the t-shirts at, BMI?
Okay.
Clear. Gotta come back.
Clear people.
No, that's
Clear
so
people.
good. No, listen, this is so good right now. Yeah, I'm gonna take up an offering after the end, so y'all just get your offering in your hand. Let's talk about future. What do we? And I want this to be for the kids or young people. What do you hope for the future, and what do you see? How do you see yourself in the future?
Black women will save the planet. No problem.
Period. We're doing it already.
Well, I see myself influencing people with my talent, like singing, acting. I want to be an actress. So I've been inspired by so many movies. I love watching movies, and I want other teenagers and kids and adults to really be inspired by my movies when I grow up. I hope that can happen one day. Well, no, not that I hope. I know it's going to happen.
Talk that talk. Because Uncle Kurt over there is very heavily involved
in movies.
television.
Just saying. Cypress? What do you hope for the future? What do you like to see?
For me, I think a lot of people are preoccupied with what people think of them who don't necessarily contribute to what they're doing. But for me, I feel like having the respect of the people that are kind of doing similar stuff to what I'm doing is most important to me. And being able to influence people to cultivate their ideas and make them come to life, because it's only as possible as you make it, I feel like. So just, for me, that's what I want to keep doing. And hopefully one day I'll be in a good position to help other people do that.
That's awesome. True.
I would say I've never really known what I want to do. I've always leaned towards music and entertainment. But if I'm happy and I'm successful and doing what I want to do, it doesn't make a difference what I'm doing. I'm just going to be happy doing it.
This dude is such a rock star. I love that. Kingston.
I think my biggest hope for the future is being the best version of myself. You know, whoever that might end up being. You know what I'm saying? I think us as young black men, especially, we don't necessarily give ourselves enough time. You know what I'm saying? Like I find myself.
Excuse me. Pause and say that again. As young black men, what happens?
We don't give ourselves enough time. You know, I know I have a habit of that, of not necessarily thinking that I have the time to decide what it is I really want to do. You know, but to be privileged and blessed enough to know that I'm in a position to where I have support behind me, whatever that choice might be. You know what I'm saying? Like it gives me more confidence to make that decision, you know?
The future is bright.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say too, and there's a reason for that. They make examples because, first of all, America is a business, it's a corporation. So, you know, we're part of that infrastructure. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want to kill us all, right? They just want to make sure you're in place. So they make these public lynchings and things of that nature. And so therefore, when you say that it's a matter of time, they perpetuate, you know what I'm saying, like haste and freneticism and fear, you know what I mean? So you can't think twice, you know what I mean? Like they, you know, and you're more prone to have an accident if you have to rely on just instinct alone and not information. You know what I'm saying? So know that time is also a game being played against you. You know what I mean? As a young black man too in America as well. I wanted to add that on too.
And we're going to take some questions. So if you have a question, we're going to come to the audience in a little bit. Dallas, you have pivoted in times where people were like, oh, I think it's over for Dallas. And what I appreciate about you is, and what people forget, you were a kid. Like you were like a kid when you moved to Atlanta. And I don't really think men grow up until like 35, 40, but he really didn't come into his real manhood. And I've been around him for most of it. Was really until he was like in his 30s, he would talk to you and answer his own questions. Somebody could say, Dallas, you know, what are we gonna do this next project? Somebody else would have to answer the question, even though he heard it. So what do you think your next wave is gonna be as a creative?
Well, you know, I started my own distribution company, black-owned distribution company, which is in my forefront.
Right.
And I've always thought for the future. I never really think for the past. It's already gone. You know, last 5 minutes is gone, so I don't really think that way. I think about how do we think and use move forward energy. This move forward energy is the key to everything that we do in life. You know, not to find yourself running in that same place. I'm always think of something else to do. I'm always think of somewhere else to be. And you know what CeeLo was saying earlier about multitasking. We grew up in a world where that's just the standard. It's not, you know, they can call it ADD, whatever you want to call it. It's called multitasking and doing multiple things because we learned, you know, when we all started, we learned like, hey, everybody's wearing Tommy Hilfiger and they're giving it away. Why don't we make our own Tommy Hilfiger? Everybody's drinking their own alcohol. Why don't we make our own alcohol? Or why do we have our own? So we grew up in an era where everything is about our own. And I feel like what I want to teach to my son, what I feel like a lot of the kids right now don't grasp hold to, a lot of the rappers, a lot of the youngins with money, like we have money, we was thinking about how do we advance and get our own everything. They got to stack some money by the ear, and they're spending it on everything else, but they're not thinking like me, or Kenny, or Chaka, or Puff, or Jay-Z, or anybody, or CeeLo. They're not thinking about like in that same way, because we came from a generation first that was taught that you got to have your own your own. Tyler, everybody, we came from own. You don't hear that in this generation right now. You know, they happy with the Bentleys and the cars and the stuff. They mean they made it. So I feel like for the future, if we don't instill this in some more of us, that's going to go away. You know what I'm saying? You can have all the money you want. They don't want you to have the knowledge. They don't want you to have the power and the social, be in a social climate, you know, be black owned and contribute to black people. I've been having black employees since I was 19, 20 years old. A full-on staff, Kenny was there with me. You know, Shaka's been down there with us too. We've been doing this for so long, and we've employed so many people, all of us have. You know, and we didn't even know we was employing people. I didn't know when my overhead was $1 million a year. That was including your life insurance and your insurance for your children, and when you your kids go to the dentist and all that. I didn't even know that because we were just working in the studio, making records and loving to deliver what we deliver. But really, that was the start of us knowing how to do what we do. And for the future, we have to instill that in our kids so that keeps going, because it'll stop. They get distracted. They get distracted by a bunch of money. They get distracted when you think you got a bunch of money. There ain't no money. You know what I'm saying? So for the future, it's really just about instilling into everybody else what we're doing. I'm going to end up in my future, have my distribution company and my film studio and my other studio and my other stuff here. I passed the film bill. That's why everybody's filming here. Our next mission is, you know, even with the caucus we have, like putting the Walk of Fame together is something we did that was considered impossible, right?
Absolutely.
And we're doing it right here with all of us that just had a good idea to say we can make this happen. So that's what the future of Atlanta in the future, we grew this city. We built this city from the ground down. Everything that's in the city, we all contribute. We live here, boy, we eat here, all that. You eat your mama's house on Sunday. You can go to Tyler's studio now. You can go to his plays before that. It's just that we all built this, and now our kids gotta be the ones to continue it and to keep this on and know how valuable this is. In whatever they do, our name is connected with it.
And to your point, financial literacy, he tapped on it, but I want all of you to speak to financial literacy. Our community is such smoke and mirrors. And then I'm on the receiving end of so many people who come in who've made millions and millions and millions of dollars, but haven't been a good steward. So can we talk a little bit about how you are teaching your children financial literacy? Kirk, you want to take it first?
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Them building something, owning their own companies. I wanted to make sure he owned his own because I named mine True Music, so right after him. So he's got his start now. Look, in the entertainment business, so many people come into this. I just want to play. I want to do the music. I want to do that. But it is a business. From the moment that you take a dime for it, it is a business, and you must treat it that way, and it will treat you that way in kind. It does that by giving you money. But you can't just offshoot all of your responsibilities about knowing about this money and where it comes from. Half the musicians in this country, I can pick 100 musicians at random at any time, ones with records out that do not know how their royalties work. That do not know how royalties work. And I wish, I love this seminar right here, but I hope BMI takes some black composers and sits them down and explains to them how royalties work. Because I got too many of them that come by me that don't even understand how they got a dime and don't know how they got it. They just say, it showed up and I spent it. You know?
Facts, no, that's real.
You know? Facts. And we have to know how it works, know how you can get it, know how you can grow it, know that the music, that you shouldn't just be having this one way of doing music. Let me tell you something. I made most of the early part of my career doing sitcoms, Moesha, Girlfriends, One-on-One, All of Us, you know, so on and so forth. Let me tell you something. I found out with some unfortunate news that all of a sudden sitcoms, multicam sitcoms were going away. And they were started paying less for you to do them. Now, there's a couple of ways you can deal with that. You can sit up there and cry and lament that, you know, boy, the good old days are gone. Dang, I wish I could make what we did before, you know, and maybe beat Mazza up. Maybe he's gonna give me some more money for doing the same job. I said, you know, call me crazy, but I said, okay, so you're gonna pay me less for doing this? Then I'm gonna do something else. I built a library and I charge you a fee for that. I started a music supervision division of my company, and we charge you a fee for that. And I have a music editing part of my business, and we charge you a fee for that. And oh yeah, and I'm a composer, and I charge you a fee for that. Now I get on there and I have 4 or 5 fees for one job. So I didn't go down, I'm going up. And I own it. Now, so they own the music with that we writer for hire for composers. I write it and they own that music. Okay, fine. You know, I made a lot of money off that. I ain't mad with it. But I built me a music library where I can license music in there. Man told me, man that owns a company that does sweetness and shit said, you have to, Kurt, you have to be making money while you asleep. That's the key. You got to make the money while you're asleep. Well, since I've been sitting here talking with you lovely people, I probably licensed 40 different songs in television. And that's going on right now. When I was on that plane last night, we were licensing music in television and film. Doggone real. All night long. So you've got to figure out and diversify and go into different areas and grow things. This man is brilliant with this. He's gone into every different thing that he can come up with. And think about it, that this whole movie action, which you know that 2 years ago you all beat Hollywood in terms of how much production was going on in Atlanta. And that didn't happen before he started getting these incentives and things going on in Atlanta. You can make the change that you desire. You do not have to be sitting up there waiting for somebody to bring you something. You do not have to sit up there begging for something to happen. Right. You can decide, I see it, I can feel it, I'm gonna build it, I'm gonna touch it, and I'm gonna own it myself and do it. But that's my idea. That's what I think about it.
You know, I've seen one thing that's been crazy, and I think it might go in every industry, but definitely in Atlanta. And I've been a victim of it myself, because when you start making money real young, you don't know anything about money whatsoever. You know you can go buy a Range Rover, but you don't know anything about how to keep it. You don't know anything about importance later. And a lot of times in the music industry, you think it's going to stay that way. You think that every club show you go to that's paying you that $25,000 walkthrough is going to happen the rest of your life, and that ain't going to happen. But nobody teaches you that. And I think that, me and Catherine spoke about this with the Jewish lawyers and white lawyers or white accountants compared to blacks. They're always going to look out for them. They're looking out. They're telling them stuff that they'll say to us, oh, you didn't ask. Well, we didn't know to ask, but you was telling them. All right. So we in our community, I started telling everybody. I started any information I got, I'm like, hold on, man, you got to pay your taxes on that money. You know, coming up next year, I was having this conversation with Lil Durk the other day and going, hey, man, I know you think your shit's straight. Make it sure it's straight. Because you don't really, really know it's straight unless you know exactly how much money you got, exactly when they come in and out. Tell me you know that. Well, not really. Exactly, you don't. They're going to keep you distracted because you got so much money coming in. All right? They're going to keep you want a house? You want a car? You want something? Yeah, go ahead. You're getting show money, $200,000, $300,000 a night, and that's a lot of money, and they're going to make sure you're happy with that, because what's going over here, you ain't paying attention to it. You know, and when you're 40, 50 years old, you should be sitting back like Kenny and say, well, how come we ain't buy all this stuff around here? Nobody told us to. Nobody was supporting us to do that back then. And, you know, I feel like now we really in our industry got to educate the kids and the people on the money they make and the finances, because it's important. What I've done all my life, I worked my butt off for it, and it's companies. It's money that's going to live for the rest of its life, and he got to take care of that. He got to figure it out. If I'm gone, then he got to figure out, well, how do those royalties work Dad was getting, and how was Dad doing this, and how's all these songs coming into play 50 years later and then forever, and how do we, you know, how does that feed you and your children, you know? And so I think that's an important thing for us to teach for the future to our kids, is just understand what we're doing, understand our business as a business, whether you like it or not. Just understand it for us, because it's life, and we worked hard at it, and you continue it.
Chaka?
I saw a clip that's been circulating on Instagram where Jay-Z talked about he didn't learn how to swim until Blue was born, because his fear was if she fell in the water, he couldn't save her. Wow. So that's part of it, right? We get all this access, money, opportunity. Some of us do well with it, some of us don't, or we're able to ride the ups and downs. We have children, and I look at my children as three parts to a whole, that they're interconnected and they each have a different strength. And they're very important to each other, right? And so my son my oldest son is the soldier. He's gonna protect all of them. Then Tayo is the heart and the balance. She's a Libra. You know what I'm saying? She's the emotion. She's the love, pure. And then Musa is the future, right? His name is Mansa Musa. I put that on him early. You know what I mean? It has a name, and if people know who Mansa Musa is. And so the fears are, and same thing me and my sister went through, having our parents and watching them, it's like, okay, you did these things and did these sacrifices. And then I know the hard times. I know when the lights was off. You know, I know when things weren't as smooth or as great. So my fear, as well as my desire, is that, you know, I got inspired by Kenny starting a clothing line with his children and his family. And we started I started businesses with each one of my children, you know what I'm saying, in the last 2 years. And then learning estate planning, you know what I'm saying? Like, man has an amazing catalog Like, you gotta sit with the Otis Redding family, or you gotta sit with the people that know how and understand what that means, as well as at some point, if it's not your passion, what to do with it moving forward, or put it in some type of a state to where it still benefits the family long term. Also, we as parents, when we're passing things down, we have to make sure that we're educating our children to be able to actually receive it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if he's not passionate about music and you give him a catalog, he's gonna sit there and be like, you know what I mean? So that's part of it, the financial literacy and the literacy. Part of it is the analytical mind. We have to foster the analytical mind of our children, because if they don't learn to adjust, because finance, like as much as I know, and I was an accountant major, the world changes every day. They switch it up on us. They done created new laws. We don't know where the money is and all of this. And
Dogecoin.
Right? So financial literacy.
Who lost? One of you motherfuckers lost.
Again.
Yeah, I still ain't bought into that yet. I can't get unreal money. But, it's just those types of things that I wish for her and my other children and my nieces and nephews and the community. And that's the last piece. The investment, as much as we invest in things, we got to invest in people and each other. Obviously our children, but, each other. And so I teach them about community and family. A village raises them, like wholeheartedly, a village raises them. They see it, live it, breathe it every day. You know what I'm saying? And you know how we get down when we see each other. If I see him out, I'm going to make sure he's straight no matter what. I've seen a number of my friends' children out, and I treat them as if they're mine. You know what I mean? And I know people do that for my children, and I want them to do that for my children. So, especially in these times, there's a lot going on. So, but from that standpoint, those are my wishes. And from a financial literacy space, it's just teaching them to analyze and understand what their goals are, how to get to them. And then, yes, where's the money made? You're right, there's so many artists that don't know where their money, they don't understand. They just think a check materializes. And even children probably do that. They just say, Dad, do. And it shows up. And then they're like, they don't have a respect for money. And the last thing I'll say, it's very hard. I think we've had this conversation. We're trying to build character in our children without them going through what we went through. Our character came from our poverty. Right? And they're not growing up in poverty. And they're not growing up with a lot of the challenges that we had. So how do we translate that character? And it's a very hard thing. It's not even necessarily a bad thing. We don't want them to have to deal with nothing. We don't want them to have to deal with, should never see a roach. You should never.
Flashback.
Right? So just be clear, that's what the real challenge is we're trying to build people of character without them going through the traumatic or the issues and the things but obviously the world has a different plan, which was showing them some of this ugliness. So we got to adjust to that too.
That's good. Greatest life lesson your dad has given you? Or advice?
Greatest life lesson.
Or advice?
There's been so many.
One of the top one or two.
Aside from manhood and multitask, balance, finding the balance between multiple things that define manhood, whether that be
men raising fathers and sons. Oof, this is so good to me. I love this.
Whether that just be like a healthy amount of vulnerability, but also a healthy amount of ego. Fearlessness, but not recklessness. You know what I'm saying?
Are y'all catching all these jewels? Y'all better go home and tell y'all boys some of this. Like, look, son, look. Oh, it's so good. Yeah.
Balance is important. I got it tatted on me.
I love that. True. With some of the gym, your dad has given us so many gyms, so I know you get a gym fast. But what are some of the greatest advice and lessons you've learned from your dad?
Well, he was just telling me a second ago, on time or early. So being on time is a very big thing that you gotta get down, and it takes time for some people to.
Pause it for a second. So, Black people, we are religiously late. Y'all hear the 16-year-old? Y'all gonna be late for your funeral. On time is what, true?
On time or early.
There you go. Okay, continue. That's so good.
But-
On time early. Love that.
He also saying you gotta work to get what you want, but also enjoy yourself while you're doing that. Like, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't go out and become a lawyer if you don't want to become a lawyer and you're not having fun doing that, because the jewels and the money and all that will come with that as long as you're enjoying that. But you also have to put in the work as well.
Good stuff. Facts. Cypress.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned, really just from observing it my whole life, was not to be confined to one thing. I feel like I really learned that you can master anything, and it's not just one thing that you can master. It can be a bunch, but also I think he taught me not to take everything so serious and to not like let life always
That is your dad. He's stressing about nada.
For real.
Nada.
Your uncle-
Building's on fire. I was like, what? We gotta leave? There's a party still happening. Hey, Dom.
Your Uncle Claude Austin taught me that.
Oh, big time. That's
I think also, just to add something to it, I always tell them, do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do. I learned it from Denzel a long time ago. He used to tell John David, man, do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do,
What about you, sweetie? What's the best advice your dad gave you?
There's so many things.
Share a few.
I mean, I don't know if this is like, I feel like he's been teaching me ever since I was born. Like,
Wow.
especially like, with my names and everything, telling me to be strong-minded and that I'm sunshine in everybody's room, and that, be a warrior, be powerful, that, I'm favored by the king. That's some of the meanings in my name. And just,
Cry, Chaka, cry.
Listen.
I'm feeling this.
Listen. Wow.
I'll do like that to add something. She's definitely, it's definitely specific to her name. Her name is Tayo Maia Nkinji Obafemi. Tayo is Japanese for sunshine. Her mother is Black and Japanese, so she has a full understanding of all her ethnicities. But we are Black people. And my mother put certain things on me with my name, and it carries. And even with my oldest son, Amir Nkosi and Mansa Musa, I want them to, their names are gonna walk in the room before they walk in the room, right? And then from there, with her, the reason why I gave her that name, and I intentionally, push her a little bit. When having a son and a daughter, especially having a firstborn son and a daughter, as soon as she was born, I realized, again, my fear, right? And what I realized is that we prepare our sons for the world, but we protect our daughters from it, right? Yeah. And it's not a bad thing, but once they go out in the world, they're not prepared. It doesn't matter. You can hide your daughter in the house for 25 years. Somebody's gonna get to her. As soon as she gets like, oh, you don't know that? Some dude, some guy gonna get in her head. So now I have to be more open, more transparent. These last 4 years of high school, she's a senior. This is coming up. She's a rising senior. And it's been a joy just to either watch her or just let her watch me and just wake up every morning, go to school, pick her up, talk. Sometimes we don't talk. Sometimes we just watch each other. She's literally, but I watch her eyes and her, it's just things in there. So, but the biggest thing is I want her knowing that she's a woman, a Black woman coming into this new world. Whether to other people she checks boxes, but it's who she is. I don't want her to check no boxes. I just want her to just be, live, and she'll be supported and protected, at least with my family. And hopefully the community will do its part as well.
Any questions? I don't know. You can. Anybody has any questions? Yeah, come up. This is the mic. It's COVID. We're not sharing mics, so still a pandemic. Atlanta don't know it is, but my neighborhood is still COVID 2020, might be 2021. So, naming question.
Hey everybody, my name is Free. I wanted to ask if each of your children do follow in your footsteps completely, what pitfall that you faced would be some advice that you would give to them? Like, what would you tell them to make sure not to do? I don't care if it's from contracts to the way that you do business, but like, what's the one thing that you would tell all of them to do that you learned in your journey?
I think we touch on that anytime we talk about balance. And me being a creative, that's the whole of me for the most part, right? So you embrace it as virtue and vice. So there's a distinct difference between creative thinking and critical thinking, the same way there's a difference between science and math. Now, creative is science because it's chemical, right? So the same way inside of the body, you can have a chemical imbalance or otherwise, right? So you're dealing with science when you're dealing with creativity, but when you're dealing with math, you're dealing with matter of fact, you know what I'm saying? So I want him to be the other side of the brain that deals more matter-of-factly, you know what I'm saying? And there's a creative way that you could do business as well, you know what I mean? And there you have balance again, So I think that's what it boils down to for me, because I can be a little frivolous, you know what I mean, and a little carefree, you know what I mean? And I think that's the way the vibrations flow. That's how they come about. I mean, it's amazing. And I'm one of those people like Dallas. I can relate to his energy because, we're like-minded in that kind of way, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's enjoyable, you know what I'm saying, but it comes with its own line of liabilities as well, you know what I'm saying? So we need, and a lot of times we need good teaming around us too, you know what I mean? And you can strategically, there's a difference in using people and utilizing people. You know what I'm saying? So that's another way, you know what I mean? So somebody love you, you know what I'm saying? You feel me? And the logistics are in order, you know what I mean? You got to have somebody to cover you, so you can be your whole self, you know what I mean? And I didn't always have the right environment, you know what I mean? And you become then a product of that environment. So there you go.
Any other?
Great answer.
That's a great answer.
I had a little bit, I didn't believe in myself as much as I think I should have earlier. Doesn't mean that I wasn't cocky, because I was. I thought I was great, but I did not believe that I should be here, that I should be in this room. You have to believe that you should win. The other thing is, and this is important, a lot of people, and I think all of the young ones here need to know it too, about so many guys want to do it on their own. They want to, I don't want my dad's help or this, that, and the other. I want to make it on my own. News alert, that doesn't exist. When they said, go west, young man, go west and get you. Brother didn't get on a horse and just jockeying across the country on his what? No, they put together a wagon train. They got somebody that could farm when they got there. They got somebody that brought cattle, that knew how to do that, to be a rancher. They brought a blacksmith. They brought a carpenter. They brought a cook. They brought somebody that could teach the kids when they got there. They brought and they brought a guide, and they all got together and went there and built something. So what you do, instead of worrying about whether you just going to be the point guard, be a team, yes, take his help. I'll take your help tomorrow. I'll be calling you up before you get out of this room. We're going to do something together. We're not going to sit up there and I just want to do it on my own. I didn't do jack diddly on my own. My brother helped me, so-and-so helped me. Yeah, I got it in the old-fashioned way, nepotism. Damn real, I believe in it. It's not just something that happened to me, it's a freaking art form with us. So yeah, you just sit up there, I'll be bringing him along, I try to help other people. You should be reaching out for help. You should be accepting of help. I too many times when I was younger didn't get this and wouldn't accept. Help was right there in front of your face, beating you on the forehead, trying to say, come on, let me in. And I still wouldn't do it. I'm saying, don't be as stupid as me. Believe in yourself and take the help when it gets there.
So you see how basically we're saying the same thing, right? Yeah.
I think
Because you can't own 100% of nothing.
Also, it's weird in Black generation families. Most white generation families, when it comes from the grandfather to the father to the kid, is what you do. If they're in construction, you in construction, your kid is in construction. If he's a DA, you're gonna be a DA, you're gonna be a lawyer. It stays in there. We just, for some reason, in our families, especially in successful, our kids tend to run away from wanting to follow in those footsteps. Just, my dad's doing this, I want to do my own thing. And that's fine. And we teach them, do your own thing, support your own thing. But what we got to learn to teach them earlier is that nope, this is a family business. I did this for you. Okay, I actually did this for you. I did my part. So what you got to learn to do is accept that, be proud of it. I tell my son all the time, man, you the best age if you walk around Austin right here in the city of Atlanta music. Because we done laid out so much groundwork, and all of us are shy, so we don't use it. I never went to a club and said, I'm Dallas, let me in. We don't do that. But
Dallas, news alert, they know who you are.
They figured it out. They started letting me in. But we don't, we teach them to be proud of their name and proud of what we've done. Not to run away from it, not to say, I can't live up to it. Embrace them early enough to be, man, you should be proud, That's the real, I think, key to us teaching the kids that,
Shay, I want to reverse this for a second. Stand up for a second. No, it's just so good. So again, Mother's Day is always like big deal. Mothers get flowers and candies and diamonds, and fathers, on the other hand, somebody told me, Chris Rock said you get a what?
Spice.
Oh yeah, or extra piece of chicken. Somebody told me that. Old Spice.
Socks. There's a robe.
You're not a mother, but you have an incredible mother and father. What is the greatest advice your father gave you, and why do you think Father's Day comes and goes, but then mothers are celebrated in such a way? What would be your take on that?
I kind of have to speak on what Chaka said. My father, I have a sister, so it's two of us, and my father was always very protective of my sister and I, and he always feared that people would take advantage of my kindness and the person that I am. And he saw that at a young age. And he continued to install into me of just making sure that I continue to acknowledge knuckleheads, acknowledge, my worth, and just know the woman that I am. And I really feel like being his daughter, I feel like I represent him very well. I'm very close to my parents. They've been married for 42 years, born and raised. They're from Carver Homes, and they did it. They made a way, and I'm here. So, yeah.
So, stand up. I'm going to put the question in you. Why do you think Father's Day is not
Stand up.
not as celebrated as Mother's Day? Are you a father? Okay. Any mind your business over there.
Well, I don't know if I think the woman, the Black woman, is the mother of the earth, the creator, the one that really at first instills all the balance within the child. So it's warranted. Mm-hmm. I think both positions really play a part, but the mother is the foundation. So I can see why they would be celebrated more, and that's okay with me. I don't want the big piece of chicken, but that's okay in my eyes. But I don't know if I answered your question, but I feel like that's the part. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Chaka, you have something to add? Go.
I just wanted to add a part to the part about what we would teach. Everybody answered. I think I'm unique in the sense that I'm not an artist, a creator in the sense that they are. So as a manager, I eat what I kill. I'm kind of connected to my client. So what I would teach my daughter, one is to try to have some level of asset to own something within whatever she creates. She obviously wants to be in front of the camera, but to own that asset or to create assets. Because again, as managers or people who are connected to people, if my talent don't work, I don't work. You know what I'm saying? So, or if I don't get out there and get it, I don't get my percentage. So it's just it's a little unique in this situation. So one, know your gift and protect your gift, right? Because the same thing that'll make you laugh or the same thing that'll make you cry, right? So I'm a community person. I live and breathe that, but people step on that. People walk up. People don't honor, those acts, and especially in our industry, they consider it weakness or they just take advantage. Some people don't honor the code of which how they got there, and they're like, they just run off with the bag and they leave you like you didn't do nothing, or or they bounce around, especially managers. Kind of be like, I'll get another manager, next manager, go to the next person. We've seen that in our industry. So it's just about, balance, like you said earlier, CeeLo, but knowing your gift and protecting your gift. Because like I said, loyalty can be used against you, right? You could be a very loyal person and a person knows that you're loyal and they'll just abuse you because you're loyal. So, and I think loyalty is a bad thing, but in that situation, it's not a good thing. You know what I mean? So these are the types of things that we got to kind of analyze and understand. So know your gift and protect your gift. And I would want her to learn through all my steps in that space.
I want to do one more thing. That was great. Y'all start thinking about, I salute my father because, one word, but not now. So think about it. You have a few minutes. Was there anything else you had? This has been so amazing. Anything else we want to cover before we wrap?
No.
This has been pretty extraordinary.
I think we are good.
Yeah.
I do want to say, I've been a father for 20 years, about to be 21 years. I have a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old. I've been married 22 years this October. And for me, I think I would say to all my niece and my nephews, I would say trial and error is the best teacher. Don't run from the mistakes. It's it makes you whole, honestly. And thinking about what I've heard tonight on the stage is so inspiring, and it shows me that the future is so bright. I mean, the level of understanding you all have, majority of it comes from your parents, obviously, but I think also your own superpowers are setting in, and to hear you speak, you see the nuances and the difference in the light. So I salute you all, congratulate you all. It's dope.
So again, I want to say thank you to YouTube who is capturing this content. We will air this content on Father's Day weekend as a salute to fathers. We will probably do a few more of these in other markets. So again, we'll be sharing the content on YouTube, BMI's YouTube, YouTube's YouTube, I think, and we may do some partnership with Revolt. So again, guys, thank you so much. In the Gathering Spot, Black owned. The guys who own this facility are dear friends of mine, Ryan and TK and Samantha, who's one of the people who helped put us this together. Thank you so much. So how would you salute? What would be the one word that you would use to salute your father? Or two, max.
I salute my father for his presence.
Wow. It's a good start. True. What word would you use to salute your father?
I'm gonna use two.
Two. There you go.
Is overwhelming wisdom.
Wow. Overwhelming wisdom. Cypress. One or two words to salute your father.
I salute my dad because of the support.
Love that. Certainly last but not least, how would you salute your father, Tygo?
His knowledge.
Knowledge, support.
See all this gray hair right there? That man knows a few things.
So we're gonna wrap, but any parting thoughts? What would be your parting thoughts for this salute to fathers, CeeLo, and then we'll let the dads close it.
Well, I guess we could give it right back to him. I salute my son for his reception.
Wow.
Hey man, I'll just, want you all to know, speak to you guys as a brother, proud of you guys. I've enjoyed hearing you guys speak. You guys have touched and blessed me, all of you, fathers and sons and daughter, Kenny and Catherine. We just thank you for this opportunity to be vocal and then to be immortalized and many more people can be blessed by it. And I mean, we should do this a lot more often. So thank you. That's what
Thank you. How would you salute your son in parting thoughts?
Well, he's my meaning, and he's the path forward. I love him dearly, and I thank you, BMI and YouTube, and I thank you for having us in Atlanta. I love Atlanta, and I'd love to have this moment with him. And we will share this and remember this always. Thank you for having us be a part of this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Austin, how would you salute your son?
I salute him because I'm proud of the human being that he's becoming, the man that he's becoming. And Catherine, you've been there like from day one, all you guys have, and I'm one of them dads that just care. I love my son to death, love my sons to death. No matter how, they understand it more as they get older and as they see stuff, because when they're kids, they feel like you're their dad, that's what you're supposed to do. But the dads never get enough recognition, the ones that bust their ass like we do, because it's no less love. So I thank y'all. I thank y'all. I thank everybody on the stage, and I think this is a great platform for other dads to see and other people to see. And life is not just about deadbeat dads. The ones that's doing what we do to break our neck and miss our sons when we leave and try to make the decision of should I even do that or not because I need to go to my son's this. That's what we do. And so I thank you guys for acknowledging us, you, Kenny, BMI, YouTube, and I think that this is the beginning of something that's going to turn real major for all of us and for other dads that's not even here.
Awesome, thank you.
I salute my daughter for her patience with me and my awkward ways of loving her. I used to always, if anybody followed me on my Instagram, I used to always call her my girlfriend. And a lot of people thought it was weird, but it's like, and she'd be like, why do you call me that? I was like, because you're the woman I love the most in the world. And in that sense, into what Dallas is saying, we don't necessarily do this for recognition, but it feels great to be recognized. Obviously, the greatest recognition is our children and what they become, not necessarily in just monetary ways or, successful ways, but the type of human beings they become. This one here, I thought my oldest son was me. This one is me, for real. My only daughter, so she's the princess and the queen all at the same time. And she's very challenging in the sense of, in her own way, she knows how to push, she knows how to maneuver. She's very meticulous in her thought process on certain things. She will beat me down about buying things like cars and what school she wants to go to. She just switches her whole thing up.
Oh, she's so unbothered. That's my favorite thing about her. She's just like.
But I thank her for her patience with me and also for sharing me. I once sat with Quincy Jones and he was just talking about how much his children had to share him with the world for him to be who he was. And your father in that line, of one of the greatest producers ever in the world, for real, right? You hear it, and it's hard when you sit next to your parents to see some of that. And, those are our personal accolades, but there's a phrase called the sins of the father. And sometimes I like to reverse that and say there's the blessings of the father. And so, like I said earlier, embrace it. You know what I'm saying? Thank you guys for sharing us with the world, allowing us to be us. Not necessarily understanding every decision we make and the time that we make it, because we're only doing what we think is right at the time, and not knowing what the outcome will be, but walking through that with us and then getting to the other side.
Y'all give it up And I also would like to acknowledge State Rep Erica and Park Cannon, two rock stars in the political space. So thank y'all for being here. Again, this has been an absolutely extraordinary platform. Kenny, again, a great father who had only thought was befitting to be a part of this conversation. So great audience. We hope we'll share on BMI and all of our platforms when this will air on YouTube. So please share it and encourage your family members to sit down with their sons and or daughters and watch it. I think this was a conversation that was long overdue. And BMI, again, YouTube, thank you guys for this amazing conversation. This was extraordinary.